Welcome everybody to our special meeting today, April 8th. Time is 7:14 p.m. Could you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, guys, please remain standing for our first responders and military members for a moment of silence. Thank you. Monica, could we get a roll call, please?
Roll call. Councilmember Soto?
Present.
Councilmember Moran?
Present.
Councilmember King?
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Garcia?
Present.
Mayor Aguilar?
Present.
For the record, council members, mayor, and Mayor Pro Tem are in attendance.
In regards to closed session announcements, there is no reportable action. Council, any changes to the agenda? I don't see any. So we're going to move on to our citizen comments. At the special meeting, members of the public wishing to address the council for any matter on the agenda may do so at the time. Note under provisions California Government Code, the City Council is prohibited from discussing or taking action on any items not on the agenda. Comments are normally limited to 3 minutes. Any public comment? On the phone? Anybody? Okay, we're closing citizen comments and we're moving on to our discussion and potential action items. We have one item, which is discussion and possible direction on pop-up shops events in the city of Livingston. So I'll talk a little bit about it. I've talked about it with the city manager regarding pop-up shops. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this concept. Has become very popular. A lot of cities are doing it. There's one ongoing pop-up shop event like outside the city limits. So we've been approached by 3 different groups trying to plan pop-up shops. The thing with these events, these organizers, they're not asking for necessarily any assistance from the city besides using the facilities. One group has asked for the sports complex. There's a couple groups asking for Main Street. So basically they would organize it themselves. Cost with this, this is part of the discussion regarding to it's something we would charge, or maybe some kind of donation towards recreation department. But I know a lot of people have these little stands, are local, or small little business owners, little crafts, different items. So it's to me it'll be benefiting the community in regards to having something out and people could attend, and also helping the small business owner. And then I know our farmers market wasn't well attended, and it was it kind of dwindled down. So this might be an opportunity to replace it with something that could be happening once a month, and then we don't have to organize it. We just provide some support. So that's what I wanted to bring out to council. I know right now we're obviously in purple tier. We're hopefully expecting to move to red tier soon. And then I know on June 15th, the tier system is going to be going away. And this will be up in the open. And I know during their pop-up events in other cities, they use all precautions and recommendations, and usually successful. And we talked with the city manager regarding possibly events on Main Street, because bring people to downtown, and hopefully one of those little business owners might be interested in opening a storefront. So I think it's a win for the city, but I'll have Jose add a little bit more.
Yeah, so in terms of brainstorming with staff, as the mayor alluded to, the downtown corridor here, I think would be great, because in terms of easy access, and then we can basically close down the streets, using the same as before as the downtown market. The K-rails are just behind the facility here, so easy access. And like the mayor alluded to, the organizers, they can put they can use basically the K-rails. We can look at using getting them to pay a small fee, just to try to offset some of the costs. But then we can look at providing restroom access. People are very familiar with the downtown already. You got the little green area right there with some shade structures. And then Public Works, so we don't have to pay them overtime and things like that. We can close the streets and stuff, and then the organizers can open up the streets, and then in the morning, when Public Works is back at work, they can pick up the rest of the stuff, and that way we don't have to pay overtime. So if you want to have the pop-up events, I think the downtown is ideal for that.
Absolutely. I think, obviously, I know that with sports stuff going on in the sports complex, I know that, people are passionate about protecting the grass area and all that stuff, so it makes sense to do it in downtown. And the organizers are even willing to bring their own their own bathrooms and all of that. So I know some of them said they'll do everything in regards to closing the streets. Basically, they'll organize everything, and will be very limited what we really need to do as a city.
And we can help them also because the county health department, will be involved because you have, food vendors. So really easy, and then they're the ones that will take care of that. And then staff is actually looking at the possibility of possibly building a little restroom on this side once council decides to formally make that a park and then change the zoning and all that stuff in the future. So that's something that Parks and Recreation is going to take up on in one of their commission meetings.
Okay, so I'll bring it for discussion, and council, if you guys have any input. Councilmember Kang, any questions or comments? No? Councilmember Jose Moran?
I think that another opportunity for residents to come out and especially to come out, into downtown. It's always a great thing to have. And I think somewhat city manager already addressed the one question that I had was in regards to food vendors and health department permits. I know that in the past I have dealt directly with food vendors, and that was one of the biggest issues. Some of the vendors not having or not meeting or not being able to go through the entire process to get their required permits. So, but other than that, I think it's something great. I think it's something great for the community, for the residents, and a good opportunity for everyone to come out, enjoy the weather and come downtown and hang out and so on. And, something like that could be very successful, but that'll be my only concern, to make sure that all food vendors do have their permits to be able to, and also because of liability for the city.
Thank you for your comment. I know from speaking to these groups, these guys are been doing it for some time now. They all have their permits, but definitely it's something that we need to verify and look into.
I know Jackie had some comments to make.
Let me finish going around real quick. Councilmember Maria Soto.
So I heard you say that it's somewhat like the farmer's market, and when I'm looking pop-up, are they in some type of rotation, application process? When you say pop-up, is it a one-time deal, or is this going to be a weekly kind of event for these organizations? For the vendors.
So as far as we know, as far as I know, there's 3 groups wanting to do something. Obviously, we want to be as fair as possible and give everybody an opportunity. All those interested in wanting to do it, and we would come up some kind of schedule. We could formalize it and make it a once a month thing or twice a month to see how things are going. Initially maybe, but I think, from my opinion, is just to be fair and allow each group to do at least one, and then see how things turn out, and then go from there.
So what is being suggested is we shut down Main Street for a couple hours for 3 groups?
No, each group's going to have their opportunity, their day to do it. they're not gonna get, there's 3 separate groups wanting to do it. So one date, one group's gonna do it, the next month, the next group, the following month, the next group.
And this requires shutting down the street and having people work overtime.
No, that's what we discussed, that they're gonna be organizing everything. We're not gonna be putting people or staff to work. They do everything. Basically, the only thing we need to do is drop off the barriers. They bring their own stuff. They do everything. We're hands off. Basically, we're just providing the support. We don't have to pay overtime or anything like that. So that's why it's a good idea. Or else, if we were needing to organize it ourselves or have the rec department organize it, then it wouldn't, it wouldn't make sense. But this is like a kind of a win-win. It's good for the public. We don't have to pay overtime to have anybody here. It's kind of something they're already pros at doing because they've been doing it for some time now. Anyways, Jackie, sorry, go ahead. Or Mayor Pro Tem Garcia, sorry. Bro.
No, I agree with the mayor. I think it's a great opportunity. And also, as long as they have the correct permits, it should be fine. And I know that they have to take out permits in the county, but also I believe in the city. Am I correct, Jackie? Well, that's one. Okay. All right. So that was my only question.
Go ahead, Jackie, sorry.
Good evening, everyone. One of the groups had actually approached us regarding this, and I think that actually Vanessa's done quite a bit of work on fee scheduling and what we would need, but I just wanted to bring something to your attention, is that I am all for giving the residents something to do. I mean, that's our passion, that's what we do, that's what our department is all about. But one of the things that I really want you guys to consider is that if we do this, that those people, it wouldn't just be a handout, because the people that are organizing it are making money off of the people that are going to be selling. So I just would want to encourage us that we come up with a fair fee schedule and not just give away the farm. The other thing is we want to make sure that our liabilities are taken care of, just like Mr. Moran had said, that they would provide a certificate of insurance, which shouldn't be a problem if they're already organized and ready to go. I would ask that when we're putting the paperwork together that we don't schedule anything for October, because that's our big fall festival. And however, we haven't been able to have it because of COVID. Hopefully this will be the year. And so that is... at the very least, if they have to have a business license for conducting business, like all the rest of the businesses in town do, those are just some thoughts I wanted to throw out there while we're putting this together that we cover.
Go ahead, Jose.
Yeah. Well, if this is going to be a city-sponsored event, some of these vendors, I don't know these vendors, but some of these vendors, depending on how big they are, what it is that they do, because some of them are cottage businesses. If we start looking at having them do a business license, it might cause a little bit of a dynamic that we're not looking for. So if the idea is to bring people out of their homes, have a good time, and then enjoy and spread some of the economic development funding around, where I think that we can get some funding, like I mentioned a little while ago, would be to charge a small fee to the organizer. But in order to help the small cottages, I don't know if council wants to, I would recommend not to ask for a business license. And what would be the difference to other events is if we're sponsoring it. Otherwise, if they were doing it on their own, then there's really no way to get around that. Everybody would have to pay for a business license. So just a thought.
Well, just with all of the times the way they are and different expectations on us to cover cost and do what we need to across to support our department. I just felt like it's kind of a slap in the face to have groups come in and give away the farm. That's just my opinion.
No, I agree with that totally. I think there should be some kind of fee, because you're right that some organizers do charge per slot or whatever the case may be. And then that money could be used for things like recreation, stuff like that. So I agree. I think there should be some kind of
And it doesn't have to be great.
Yeah, exactly.
But it
yeah.
needs to be
something, yeah.
for some accountability. And
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. And then I also agree with the city manager. These are like small home crafts sometimes, little businesses, and shirt screening, stuff like that.
So there's a differentiation, charging a fee and requiring a business license, because in the past, it used to be a business license and a fee. So what I'm suggesting is no business license since we're sponsoring, but do charge a fee because of everything that we just said.
Yeah, absolutely, that makes sense. Thank you, Jackie. All right, I'm going to take,
So,
hold on,
hold it.
I'm going to take it out to public, and then we could bring it back for some direction. Any public comment? Where is he? Nobody on the phone? Sounds like there's no public comment. So I'll bring it back for further questions and direction. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I do agree with and I see both points. I do see to where we can even, consider asking the organizer to have a business license, just because they are the organizers, and everyone else that are coming out are under their umbrella, which makes common sense. And then, figuring out a way to charge, or that someone that everyone that participates has a little an investment in, but also I'm looking at, because you guys mentioned that there are going to be 3 different organizers. Every organizer, even 3 brothers think and work differently. So having 3 different organizers and not having someone directing traffic, we cannot expect any of them to work exactly the same and to our expectations. So we need to have some kind of guidelines by some, I don't see a way of not having someone supervising from the city if we want things to be right and not have a liability. And then also, this is something that I kind of see that where we need to have the rec department and the rec commission somehow involved. Unless, because even if we look at it as like if they're quote unquote renting downtown, who is in charge of renting down, the hall or the part of the park? Because if we set a precedent, everyone needs to know the procedures that we have in place. When they rent a park, they don't go to a police department and ask them, like, can I rent the shelter? I think they go to the rec department, right? Mm-hmm. So even though they might not be required to be like fully involved in it, but at least go through the process so that we can expect everyone else to do the same thing in the future and not skip any steps. That is my perspective.
Thank you. I think I mentioned somebody was working on some fee scale or something like that.
Vanessa Portillo, Finance Director. I think we have had some interest in the past, and really what I wanted to share is that our current municipal code for business license, it's pretty much silent on this kind of events or activity. So we would also have to look into revising, updating, or making it modernizing the business license code in order for us to be able to have some set of guidelines and direction on how to treat not just this one vendor, but future vendors that will come. I know that the concept of the pop-up shops are one concept that it's quite innovative right now. It's, I think, from the pandemic and just like utilizing space, people have just gotten very savvy and said, like, let's all come together and put up our little business. And it's a great concept. It attracts a lot of people. But at the same time, if we don't have something set in place that it will ensure that the city will collect their fair share of funds for, having this kind of events, we won't be able to sustain ourselves in the long and like in the long run for the demands that these items will have. So right now, with our policy or like our municipal code, it's quite silent, but it does have some very vague section that talks about one-time vendors. And we're talking about a $60 fee for a one-time vendor to come and do business one day. It does have some limitations in which it says that a one-time vendor is considered if you come to do business for one day, for a period of 24 hours within like 3 months every time. So in the case of like a 3-group rotation, we could kind of like fit that in, but I mean, at the same time, you just got to think about it. $60 right now that we would be requiring from, if we do like an umbrella, we would be requiring that one group, that group, it's probably charging a fee for each one of the vendors that are participating, and they're probably making a lot more than the $60 that we have in our business license schedule. On the other hand, I feel that we do have to have some sort of fee schedule in place that secures us to be able to collect some funds, because most of these vendors are small businesses, and it's great. We want to support them, but when they're doing these sales, most of these sales are cash sales and are very difficult for us to identify any sales taxes to come through it. So we're basically, like we're going to have a great event, but we just need to make sure that we collect our fair share.
Sounds good. Are you familiar with how other cities are doing it, or allowing it, like Atwater, Turlock?
From what I have seen, it's a mixture. Some cities are just doing they have like a conditional use permit or something where they have one participating vendor where, it's an umbrella of like all of the vendors that they want to invite, but their fee is not $60. So
under a special city event, for example, is the city allowed to charge whatever
I haven't seen any fee that we have a special city event. It's just a one-time itinerant vendor, what we have in our business license schedule.
Thank you, Vanessa. Very informative. Appreciate it. So it sounds like obviously we want to come up with some kind of fee for this event, get more details or update our municipal code in regards to specific pop-up shops. I would say that this could be a priority in regards to trying to address that, because we are missing some opportunities, because I know other cities are doing them, and I'm not only specific to those 3 groups, but I mean, if anybody's interested in doing something like that, I think it's a good opportunity to replace kind of the farmers market and bring people to downtown. So if we could, I don't know, it sounds like everybody has some concerns or some, different things to say about it. So we could, if it's okay with council, to work towards that as soon as possible. However you guys think it's appropriate, recommission or
I would agree, let it go to the rec commission and come to us with their drafts or whatnot, permit fees and how it's all gonna work out.
So I'll be going, so you guys have a meeting next week, check, rec commission? Okay, so maybe you could talk about it there, and make a recommendation, and then bring it to council on the following meeting, and then so we could have an idea. Go ahead.
So Mayor, I don't know if you're, I've been trying to establish some type of small business chamber of commerce. I'm working with the Merced County Hispanic Chamber, and we want to be able to bring that here. And I'm willing to go out and hit up all our small business, because we need to support our small businesses. We need to provide those opportunities, but future-wise, bringing them all together, doing all these, the business license codes, putting that all in place so that our businesses are actually invested in these types of events, and they follow all of the codes that are going to be put in place, and having the opportunities to be out there on the street, just like, we've all done our fair share working with the vendors. These small fee schedules that we apply in the beginning, is nothing compared to the cash flow that they may be getting. They deal in cash, we don't know, but in order for us to benefit from, we want them to succeed. But we also don't want to give away the farm. We have to have some type of commitment from them, rather than just a $60 fee when they're going to be there all day long. Our residents, it's a great time. They're making their money, but in the long run, where does that leave? Say, for instance, the rec, if the rec commission takes us on, where's their cut? Where's the cut that's going to come to the city? So again, being part of a larger group, such as a chamber, whether it's the Hispanic chamber, the one that's active here is we have Punjabi chamber. We also have the old Livingston. It's just not active. So we might want to revisit that as well.
So yeah, I think that's why it's gonna be going to Recreation Commission for advice and recommendation. The only thing I have to say is I think it's a little different, because these are locals, they're not like business type. Some of them are just little crafts they do at home. It's a little different, I would say, than but hopefully potential to do something like that. But it's business license, and help them move up and continue on. But no, good discussion, and I think, go ahead.
Thank you. I think this is great. I see it as being something very positive for the community, totally. But I think that just going through or using the steps that we currently have is very important. And to me, it's not so much, I'm not thinking about, we're gonna make a lot of money on something like this. But it's just establishing, because this being something new, it's a good opportunity to establish something, have something in place for the ones that are going to come after, and to not overlook what we already have in place. So I'm all for it. Anything that we can do to make it work, and just bring something else for the residents in the community will be great. Thank you.
Thank you. I agree totally. Anything else? Do you guys have good direction, I think, overall? Yeah, we're good? Right. Thank you. So at this moment, I'm going to go ahead and adjourn our meeting at 7:43 p.m. Thank you, everybody.